It's been 5 years since the coronavirus outbreak. Thank God it's almost over and we have it under control. But the world is still reeling from the news of a new outbreak called the human pneumovirus, or HMPV. It has also blossomed in China. Cases are high and hospitals there are packed to the brim. And people are wearing masks again. It's causing panic all over the world. And almost every news agency is now talking about it. What is the story of this strange virus? When did it appear? What are its symptoms? Are we facing a new pandemic scenario? Or not? The human pneumovirus is a type of virus and belongs to the family of pulmonary viruses. It is called human pneumovirus because a similar type of it is found in birds. But this virus only targets humans. The virus infects the upper and lower respiratory tract in humans. And it causes symptoms like the symptoms of the common cold or flu, including cough, congestion in the nose, runny nose, cough, sneezing, fever, lethargy, pain in the body and others, and like most respiratory viruses, it is transmitted through aerosols resulting from sneezing, coughing or direct contact. Like someone shaking hands with an infected person who sneezed into his hands a little while ago. The symptoms of HMPV are usually present for 3 to 6 days and then disappear on their own. Everyone is susceptible to this virus. However, the issue is that it becomes dangerous when it occurs in young children or people over 60 years old, especially people with weak immunity or chronic respiratory diseases such as asthma or allergies. Especially people whose immunity is weak or who have chronic respiratory diseases such as asthma or allergies. Of course, in other special cases, such as people who are undergoing chemotherapy or are still transplanting nearby organs. In these cases, God forbid there are complications of the disease. Such as acute pneumonia or severe bronchiolitis, which is more common in children, or a severe middle ear infection. In some rare cases, the virus can lead to death, God forbid. The virus is now detected by a swab from the nose or mouth. It can also be detected through a chest X-ray or tracheostomy. In fact, the answer to this question is that the virus is not new. The HMPV virus was first discovered in 2001. They discovered a group of doctors in the Netherlands, and about 28 children were infected with the virus at the time. At first the doctors thought it was an ordinary respiratory virus. But when they isolated it and studied its characteristics, they discovered that it was a completely new virus. It could have mutated from other viruses until it reached its current form. Or it could be a new disease in its own right. In addition, when they compared its symptoms with the health records of other countries, they discovered that the virus had been around for about 50 years. But no one was concerned because no genetic analysis had been done before. This is because his symptoms are similar to those of colds, flu and other respiratory viruses. So no one was focused on it. And the disease doesn't originate in China, like COVID-19. Because it was first discovered in Europe. China is innocent this time. In addition, studies have shown that the virus is not zoonotic. Meaning it doesn't come from bats or viruses. It's a virus that took humans as its first host. The Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, published data showing an exponential rise in the number of people infected with the HMPV virus from mid-December to the end of December. From mid-December to the end of the month. Especially in the provinces in northern China. Patients who are admitted to the hospital complaining of any respiratory symptoms, when the doctors examine them, they notice that a large percentage of them are infected with this particular virus. So much so that nowadays in China, more people are infected with HMPV than with COVID-19. And even more people in Reno are now infected with the virus. This means that the virus is spreading faster than any other virus. And it's not just limited to China. The virus has appeared in other countries around China. Such as India, Malaysia, Kazakhstan, Singapore. And a dozen other Asian countries. It even bloomed in Britain, America and some cold countries in the northern hemisphere. But in order for people not to worry, let's explain that this situation is perfectly normal. Respiratory viruses are generally active in winter and spring. This is their season. However, the number of people infected with the virus is not scary yet. In a country the size of India, the number of people detected with the virus does not exceed 20. Of course, this is according to official data, and in the United States, the rate of positive diagnostic tests for this virus is only about 2%. So the overall situation is not alarming. The only thing that made the media worry about it and made the media talk a lot is that the virus bloomed this year in China for the first time. Or they were the first people to announce the presence of infected people, and the word China nowadays, when the word China is used in connection with any virus or disease, the whole international community is concerned. This is in addition to the local media in China when they saw that people started wearing masks in the past few days to protect themselves from the new virus. They said it reminded them of the coronavirus seen 5 years ago. It was the same atmosphere again, as international media outlets picked up the news and published it, which increased anxiety. But the most important thing that caused the spread is that the virus does not have a vaccine. And it's not because the virus is dangerous or difficult to deal with. It's just that the virus wasn't widespread, and therefore doctors and researchers weren't very interested in it. It didn't take much effort, time or money to create a vaccine for the virus. But they're starting to work on it now. That's why all they can do with the infected people now is deal with the symptoms and nothing else. So what are painkillers? Fever-reducing medications, cough syrups, decongestants, sprays. The things we use for the common cold. But the question remains, can this virus with its characteristics and its current situation cause a global pandemic? The HMPV virus is completely different from the coronavirus in terms of structure and effect. Both viruses are respiratory diseases and spread through the respiratory tract, and their symptoms are the same. But coronavirus is much more violent, more offensive and has more severe symptoms. This is in addition to the fact that corona was a new virus. Humans had never been exposed to it before. Our bodies were not completely immune to it. That's why no one was able to resist it and it spread everywhere. But HMP is a virus and many people are immune to it. In fact, some medical research says that over the past decade, most of the world's children were exposed to it when they were less than 5 years old. That means you or you personally could have been exposed to the virus when you were young. In addition, after the year 2006, it was the second most common virus that causes respiratory diseases in children. Approximately 1 in 10 people who suffer from a respiratory infection is caused by this virus. So we can say that the world's population has a collective immunity to the virus, thank God. For this reason, the World Health Organization, WHO, stated on the last day that the virus currently does not pose a threat and is not considered the beginning of a global pandemic or anything. This is contrary to what people are saying online. But does this mean that we should just stick a watermelon in our stomachs and not take any precautions? Yes, the virus is not the start of a pandemic, God willing. But that doesn't stop it from spreading. And in a large percentage of cases, we can all be exposed to it. And its symptoms are less severe than the common cold and flu. That's why we need to protect ourselves and take care of ourselves. The procedures for preventing the virus are the same as those for preventing the flu and colds. We stay away from anyone who shows symptoms of a cold, avoid touching our nostrils or eyes as much as possible when we are at home, and we do not prefer to put our hands and touch many things when we are at home. Doorknobs, handrails, chairs in public transportation, and so on. As soon as we enter the house, we wash our hands with soap and water. Of course, when we sneeze into our elbows, not into people's faces. And if anyone feels cold symptoms, he tries as much as possible to rest at home and not to mix with people, so as not to infect anyone. We ask God to help us and you.